how would you define success for the modern day artist?
It's a good question. We were practicing this one in the car because we figured you might ask, but it's subjective again, and I think definitely success, unfortunately for most people, is tied around wealth and having money and being successful in that way. But I definitely, if I were to put a general sort of idea behind it, I think it would be more like the freedom to live your life how you want to live it. And that if that means I need money to go do these certain activities that I love, then you need to get there to feel successful. But if you are beyond happy kicking a ball around a field, and helping other people, impacting people's lives, I feel like that's another form of success. And I see that. So for me, when I am able to touch someone in terms of like, if my art moves them, if I'm able to achieve a milestone or use this art to get somewhere and bring me a new experience or somewhere I haven't been, that kind of opens my eyes, something I learn from, something that makes me feel, I feel like that is success as well.
Dude, there's so many things coming to my mind that I want to talk to you about. I think success, it's interesting how you said you prepared for this, because that's what everyone thinks I'm going to ask him, and it is what I ask it. It's funny because numeric success, it's like I would be lying if I said I didn't want this podcast to go viral and get 1 million views.
Right.
I think what I want to teach people is getting rid of the if-then statements. If I get 1 million views, then I will consider this podcast successful. If I get 1 million subscribers, then I will feel happy. So it's like, I have goals too. I want to get 1 million subscribers. I want to get 10,000 monthly listeners, but I'm not waiting for those things to fuel me. And the thing is, I think sometimes people need to experience monetary wealth or fame wealth to know that it's not what they actually want. Right. They need to get it. In the way I prove this, because I haven't experienced those things, so who am I to say?
Sure.
The way I prove it is that, why does every famous person, every actor end their career in philanthropy? It's like they accomplish everything and then they start their charity. They accomplish everything and then they start their mission. And it's because I feel like, and a topic I want to get into with you is giving versus getting. It's like everyone feels that they want something, and they've all heard like giving is better than getting,
right?
But they live as they want 1 million views, they want this success, this achievement, and then they end their career realizing, oh, it's so much better to give it away.
Yeah.
And you've made a lot of custom art for people. You made that longboard for that girl and that shoe for Marco, and I think you've had quite a career of giving. Could you speak about that?
Yeah, definitely. I love giving. I think it is much more fulfilling, to be able to give and have them get that reaction, that wow factor, that surprised, sort of emotion. It's tough to kind of put it into words how that feels, but it is, I'm sure most people have experienced it at one point or the other, where their acts directly impact someone else's life, and that feels so good, versus like getting. And I think for me, it's like, yes, I'm in the same boat. I want to get the money, get the wealth, but it's not for me. It's not necessarily for me. It's for others. It's for my circle of people that I want to help them. I want their lives to be easier in any way I can, and if that means helping them financially or, any other ways, then I'm happy to try to do that, because then, I don't know, it's feel better than receiving.
An interesting statistic that I just found out, that by economic class, poor people give a higher percentage of their money than rich people do.
I mean, I believe it.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, yeah, America's messed up like that, kind of, and
or
a lot of people, I would say, wealthier people understand the tax laws better and are able to, you know, purchase more assets and in turn get less hit with the taxes. So
the thing that's coming to mind right now is like people making Instagram reels or YouTube shorts where they'll give a homeless dude like $100.
Right.
They'll get 10 million views and they'll be profiting like $1,000 on it. That happens less now. That was a trend,
that was
4 or 5 years ago. But it's funny. That's what I think of when I think of rich people giving. Not that there's a bunch of rich people who give freely.
I mean, that's for like kind of an alternative reason or whatever, where it's
like you're only giving to gain.
Yeah, right. It's giving in a selfish sort of reason because you want to gain. It's almost like if you fuck up, if you do something bad and you want to go apologize to that person, but it's been, you know, months or whatever, you're only doing it for yourself, really. Like they've already moved on, but you're kind of like, oh, I need to apologize, but it's really for your own soul to feel less guilty.
That also raises another form of giving, which I'm thinking about is like, might get a little deep here, but my brother's a really bad alcoholic, and my dad has seen the ways that he's poorly spent money that has been given to him. And so now my dad, who's a very giving person, doesn't like to give to homeless people anymore because he says they're just going to go spend it on alcohol or drugs.
Right.
But I will make the argument to my dad that it doesn't matter where they spend it. You would like them to go spend it on a hot meal. You'd like them to spend it on getting a job, but you almost giving is for yourself in the way that it's like correcting your heart posture. You know? It's like you don't control what that person goes and does with their money.
Right.
So does that mean you should just never give anyone money?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's definitely a tough question, and it's, you know, it's an ethical one, obviously. So.
Yeah, I think from a God perspective, it makes sense to just give to give, and you don't expect anything.
I mean, you just never know.
Yeah, you
could give to the homeless person, they could go shoot up, and then all of a sudden they come up with the next brilliant idea that cures cancer. I mean, you just never know, right?
Actually,
not that that's gonna happen, but
I want to share a story on generosity with you that it's gonna take a minute, but
sure,
it's so related to what we're saying, and I read it on Facebook, so I don't know the validity of this,
right?
But it would be quite a wild story to just come up with. So this guy, his dad passed away. And he went to the grave and he left a flower on his dad's grave. Every Sunday, I believe, he would go leave flowers on his dad's grave. And there was a grave next to his dad's, who after a couple of months...
I've read this story.
After a couple of months, he realized that no one was leaving flowers on that grave. So he said, I don't know why, but I'm going to leave flowers on that grave.
Yeah.
Whoever this is, I'll leave. So now every Sunday he brings flowers for his dad and flowers for this new grave. And then after a month or so of leaving flowers on the new grave, he goes, I wonder who this person is. I'm going to look them up.
Right.
He looks them up. He finds out this person he's been leaving flowers on their grave for killed his whole family.
Yeah.
And then killed himself.
Right.
And he goes, oh my gosh, why would I ever give this person flowers? I messed up.
Right.
So he feels bad, kind of like giving the homeless person who goes and buys alcohol. So he goes, all right, I'm going to make it up. I'm going to find their relatives that he killed, and I'm going to leave flowers on their grave.
Right.
Which is so funny because this is all just his intrusive thoughts. Like, no one's making him do this. I don't even think he was talking to anyone about it. So he goes to their relatives and he starts leaving flowers on their graves. And then one day he goes and leaves flowers on their graves, and when one of the relatives that is alive goes, what are you doing? Why are you leaving flowers on my brother's grave?
Right.
And he goes, I can explain. There's a whole long story. Why don't we get dinner and I'll tell you about it? And she says yes to getting dinner.
So good.
And then 2 years later, she says yes when he asks her to marry him.
Yeah.
So
insane. I mean, what a story. If that is true, that is an incredible story.
But what it teaches me is that him putting the flowers on the serial killer's grave is like us giving the money to the homeless person who goes and spends it on alcohol. It's like, you didn't know.
Right.
But in the end, I felt God rewarded him for his generosity.
Right.
That's literally how he founded his wife.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like the posture of your heart is much more important than.
Yeah, it's your intentions. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's knowing that it's
Yeah.
supporting. You know, she was just in Thailand, so we were talking about the elephant sanctuaries and how, you know, some of them are ethical, some of them are not as ethical. We're still kind of supporting, but it's kind of a tough question.
It's hard to do your research and everything.
Yeah, for sure.